Want to let you know we are just getting word into us here at CNN that the Supreme Court has now weighed in, granting President Trump's emergency appeal, so to temporarily halt the judge's order that the administration pay full SNAP benefits. David, we heard from you on that one. You said that they should follow. Congressman, what do you make of this from the court?
So boom, we just got this crazy update out of the Supreme Court. And let me tell you right now, the Trump administration just won a temporary W in this legal back and forth mess over SNAP benefits, aka EBT, aka food stamps, and how they were supposed to keep paying them out during this whole government shutdown fiasco. Now hold up. Before you just skim past that like it's some background headline. Nah, this is big because it tells you everything about how wild and hypocritical this system really is. So let's walk through it piece by piece, like you sitting across from me, because I need you to really understand how deep this goes. Now let's get into an article on CBS News. Supreme Court temporarily freezes order requiring Trump administration to provide full SNAP payments to millions of Americans. Supreme Court Justice Kajane Brown Jackson on Friday, which was yesterday, November 7th, for now, a lower court order that required the Trump administration to swiftly provide full benefits to roughly 42 Americans. The order from Jackson is temporary. She said it will give a federal appeals court more time to consider whether to provide the Trump administration with longer emergency relief while an appeal in the dispute over payments for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program moves forward. The Supreme Court's late stage intervention came as the Trump administration closed in on an end of day deadline set by a district court judge Thursday, this past week, to cover in full food assistance for November and use roughly $4 billion for other nutrition programs to do so. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the First Circuit had temporarily left in place the lower court's decision, after which the Justice Department sought emergency relief from the Supreme Court. Jackson wrote in a brief order that her administrative stay will facilitate the First Circuit's expeditious resolution of the Trump administration's request for the longer pause of the district court's decision. She said the appeals court should resolve the pending motion with dispatch, quote unquote. In its emergency appeal to the Supreme Court, the Trump administration said it has already exhausted the entirety of a more than $5 billion contingency reserve, which was enough to provide only partial food assistance payments for the month, and it warned that the additional $4 billion needed to cover the full allotment for low-income Americans would require it to dip into a fund designated for child nutrition programs. Now, I just want to let you guys know, because now I gave you guys the gist of it, and we're going to break it down. But these were the states that issued the payments that were actually given out before late Friday, which was yesterday, November 7th. The Kajane Jackson Brown, or Kajane Jackson, before she Brown Jackson, before she actually halted and paused the SNAP benefits, they were already being dispersed overnight going into Friday morning of November 7th, that some individuals got their SNAP benefits, right? So it does say the Trump administration told the Supreme Court that the fast acting states were trying to seize what they could have, the agency's finite set of remaining funds, before any appeal could even be filed, into the detriment of other states' allotments. So I want you guys to know who did receive and which states did roll out, because states did issue, um, process SNAP payments within hours of Thursday court order to provide full benefits. So Thursday, there were a judge who told the Trump administration to issue full amount, the full emergency fund reserve amount, use it, exhaust it, and issue full SNAP payments. So the lower court that issued that on Thursday. On Thursday, these were the states on Thursday night over and through the night going into Friday morning, which was yesterday, November 7th, issued already SNAP benefits. So you have Oregon government, or Oregon Governor Tina Kotak, a Democrat, says state employees worked through the night to issue full November benefits to make sure every Oregon family relying on SNAP could buy groceries on Friday. So officials in California, Kansas, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Washington moved quickly to issue the full SNAP benefits Friday. So some individuals um, got their benefits within these states and maybe more. But this is the article to let you guys know that some individuals did get their benefits based on what was initiated from the judge on Thursday, and basically told the Trump administration you have to roll out these payments, these SNAP payments. But Friday it got paused in the evening from the Supreme Court, Kajane Brown Jackson. Now let's break this down now that we got that undercover. And I want to set the scene because we in the middle of a government shutdown, right? And this just ain't some paperwork delay. This means federal agencies closed, workers not getting paid, essential services at risk, the whole nine. And why? Because the Democrats and Republicans up in Congress beefing over money like two divorced parents fighting over who's going to pay for the kids' braces. And they can't agree on a budget. So the whole government hits pause. Now, where it gets interesting is Trump and his team say, all right, cool. If the government shut down, there's no new funding coming through. How the hell we supposed to keep paying our SNAP benefits, right? I'm setting the tone, which led up to this pause from the Supreme Court, right? Because I'm backtracking all the way from the beginning. And that's a fair question from the Trump administration. Say, how are we going to keep paying these SNAP benefits, with the government shut down? And think about that in real life terms. If your job stops paying you and you can't just keep buying lunch for the whole office, right? But now suddenly people flipping out like, oh my goodness, Trump's trying to starve America. When in reality, he's saying the money ain't there because Congress didn't approve it. But the kicker is this: the Democrats, the very people who triggered the shutdown by refusing to negotiate, they turned around and blamed Trump for the consequences of the shutdown they created. That's like crashing a car and then yelling at the passenger for not fixing it while it's still on fire, metaphorically. And the media eats it up. Headlines flying, TikToks going viral. Trump cut food stamps. Meanwhile, if you actually trace the chain of events, it's like watching a kid break the TV, metaphorically, and start crying because they can't watch cartoons. Like, bro, you broke it. So now here comes the court system, which I read the article. And this is where it gets spicy because a federal judge steps in, slaps down the ruling saying, no, Trump, you got to keep paying 100% of these SNAP benefits. And you need to do it by November 7th, which was by Friday. And this was Thursday. A federal judge told, Thursday this past week, told Trump, you got until Friday. No excuses. And that's why you see no states that I told you rolled out on Thursday, quick as possible, overnight until the Friday morning. Because Friday morning, the Trump administration initiated an appeal to the federal judge court's ruling on Thursday of this past week, which is why later Friday evening, Kajane Brown Jackson put a freeze on it late in the evening, making a decision to freeze it. Because the federal judge on Thursday that told the Trump administration, you got to give out 100% of these of the emergency funds, didn't even give Trump a week to look over. It gave him a day, basically. So when you look at it, because the federal judge on Thursday was like, bro, like, look, you got no excuses. You got until Friday, which is the next day. And the president is like, literally like, look, I just told y'all we don't got cash. We don't got the cash. Congress hasn't passed the budget. There's no check in the mail. And this judge really out here acting like Trump got a magical debit card. He could just swipe for $4 billion and go, yeah, that's on me. What law even says that required during the shutdown? What law even says that's required? That's what I'm trying to figure out. And where in the U.S. Code is the line that says if the government breaks down, the president is personally responsible for pulling money out of thin air to keep food stamps running? Spoiler alert, it doesn't exist. These judges are just winging it at this point, playing politician in the robe, just making up rules based on how they feel. And it's judicial cosplay, honestly. And here's what makes this extra hypocritical. Anytime Trump tried to move money around in the past, whether it was cutting funds to foreign aid, trying to shrink bloated departments like the Department of Education, or cutting federal jobs that barely do anything, what did the court say? They were like, nope, you can't move around without Congress approval. And that's the law. But now all of a sudden, when it's about a program the left loves, when it's about EBT, now the judge is like, yo, you have to move money around. We don't care if Congress blocked it. Figure it out. Like, bro, what? So when Trump cuts a useless agency, he needs Congress. But when he's told magically to fund a program with no budget, suddenly Congress don't matter anymore. Make it make sense. And this is what I call selective outrage and selective enforcement. The same legal minds that say you need congressional approval yesterday are saying we don't care about Congress today. Why? Because this time the program they're protecting is one their base actually relies on. Food stamps, government dependence. And this is where we got to talk about the real elephant in the room. And I'm not talking about the Republican logo. I'm talking about the way SNAP has become this giant bloated out of control system that's no longer about helping people in crisis, but straight up enabling generational dependency. And look, I'm not saying there aren't people out here who truly need it. I'm all for paying taxes for people who genetically has a medical people. There are people who are genetically diabetic. There are people who have kidney failure and they can't control what their body is doing, even though they want to be able-bodied to be independent, to be able to do the things that able-bodied people are able to do and work. And actually being able to make something out of themselves that some people are just realistically unable to do because they may have a pancreas issue, thyroid issues, that thyroid issues that are severe, or like kidney failures due to it being out of their control, and it just happened to be a health issue that they didn't expect to happen. So I'm saying those examples just to say that I have no problem paying taxes for those who really need it, who can't do everyday functions to provide for themselves, like severely. And that's what we should be paying to help, not those who are able bodied. So there's elderly folks, disabled folks that I'm talking about healthcare wise that I gave you example about, single moms who are just trying to survive. Real talk. And those people should be helped. And that's what safety nets are for. But that's like 10% of the whole system. The rest, professional grifters, people who know every loophole, got the system on speed dial, walking to the grocery store, buying crab legs and lobster with the EBT card while driving off in a nicer car than yours. I've seen it, you've seen it, and yet, if you even dare mention it, they act like you're attacking poor people. Nah, I'm attacking scammers. And you even got people that's selling food stamps just to get their hair and nails done. This is a big difference, I'm saying. And let's be real. This whole EBT push from the left, the Democrats, it's not just about feeding the hungry. It's about creating a base of people that are hooked on government benefits, like addicts to free money. And if you ever try to take a bone from a dog, you get my point. That's how they react if you even suggest reform. And why? Because they built a whole voting strategy around this, the Democrats. They know that it can get you dependent on free stuff, and you ain't ever voting for the person who says, let's cut this back. You always vote for the people who promise to keep the free stuff coming. And that's how they flip poor counties blue. You think those voters out here doing deep dives into government budgeting? Bro, they don't even know what a filibuster is. I've come across that personally. All they know is I didn't get my EBT. I'm mad. It's Trump's fault. Bet I'm voting Democrat. Simple. And let me ask you this. Why is it that we got judges issuing emergency orders to fund SNAP, but not to fund the military or the air traffic controls or the FAA? And for those who don't know what the FAA is, it's the Federal Aviation Administration that keeps the that keeps the airports running. Right? So, especially when it's Thanksgiving season and flights getting canceled left and right because air traffic controllers are calling out, and the aviation industry is trying to keep the safety of Americans so there don't be no crashes in air where planes are crashing. So they had to cut back because air traffic controllers are not getting paid. So they're calling out because they're trying to do DoorDash or find another way to make money to pay their bills because the government shut down. They can't get paid until the government open. So you're not going to protect those people's safety? Just their seafood budget with the EBT? Again, selective enforcement. It's not about what's essential. It's about what's politically useful. And if you don't believe me, because Senate Republicans even tried to pass a bill to fund those essential services during the shutdown, military, law enforcement, air traffic control, and guess what? Democrats blocked it. But they're the same ones crying on camera about how unfair the shutdown is. Nah, bro, you blocking the solutions on purpose because you want chaos. You want Americans to feel pain so they could turn around and blame Republicans. And that's textbook manipulation. But don't take my word for it. Check out the vote. It says in this post right here on X, aka Twitter, or formerly known as Twitter, Senate Democrats block a bill to pay federal essential workers during the shutdown, including law enforcement, air traffic control, our military. Chuck Schumer is the minority leader. He's the leader of the Democratic caucus. They blocked the bill. The 43 are the Republicans. You need 7 votes, right? Nay is the 53 is the Senate Republicans voting yes. They are all the Republicans that's in the Senate, all the Republican seats. The nay is 43, which are the Democrats. So that tells you right there. Let's do the math because people don't be knowing. This is the filibuster, by the way, which is you have to get the vote of both parties and considering both parties to have a fair agreement and vote on it to get the 60 votes to pass anything. So 53 minus 43. There you have it. 10, right? So you mean to tell me, like I said, that's 10, right? That's 10 people. And you only need 60. So you mean to tell me you need 7 votes and all the 10 of the Democrats voted no. Right? I mean, you need 10. That's 10 votes left. You get what I'm saying? 53 minus 43, that's 10, right? So you only need 7 to get to 60. 53 plus 7 is 60. But if you have 53 minus 43, that's 10. You can't even get 7 out of the 10 to vote yes. So I'm going to leave it there. But it's mind-blowing to me. And this is what's going on behind this emergency SNAP funding drama. It ain't just about food stamps. It's about power control and manipulation. Until the people wake up and stop falling for the same emotional bait every election season, man, I'm so fired up because it's frustrating because it's just hurting the people, right? These games. We're going to keep watching this cycle repeat if we don't change how we vote based on logic. If you keep going for this emotional bait every election season, it's going to repeat. Shutdowns, fake outrage, and voters who don't even know the rules of the game being used like pawns. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Hope you guys got some value from this video. I'll catch you next one. Peace.